Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Seriously, Let's Talk. I'm your host, Marcus, and I want to talk about a subject tonight I'm sure each and every one of us are very familiar with, and that is arguments. When I was a lot younger, it used to be said that arguing actually helps the relationship and it helps you build upon one another because you learn one another. But, you know, when you really think about it, in a biblical sense, even in a natural sense, how does arguing really help a relationship? The Bible tells us not to uh, bite at one another or to gripe at one another, but how many of us actually follow those rules? Because literally in the heat of the moment, each and every one of us say things that we say we don't mean, but if we didn't mean it, we wouldn't say it. So that's the thing. We get into these arguments and then we say we don't mean them, but we've been thinking about it for a long time. Come on, somebody. It every time that we've got into that argument, it just kept building and kept building. And then you finally got an opportunity to say it. And you thought that it was going to affect that person how you thought it was going to affect them, but it didn't. Had a adverse reaction. And now because you let that out how you really felt, you can't take any of those words back. That's arguing for you. That is helping build a relationship. Now I don't know how you taking a knife and cutting off your sister or brother's leg actually helps this person or helps build the relationship. It doesn't. Because if let's just say in a physical sense, we both had the husband and wife or wife and husband had swords in their hand, and every time they got angry they just chopped off some one another's limb. How would that feel? Honestly, at the end of it all, once you lose your arms and your legs, what are you gonna be able to fight with? Both of y'all will be sitting there without just nothing but your bodies with no legs and no arms. That's basically kind of what arguing does because you're tearing each other down. And in the spiritual sense, the Bible says, "How can two walk together unless they agree?" I mean, come on, somebody. If you're pulling one way and the person is pulling the opposite direction, it's just not going to work. It you if you're not both on the same page, it's not going to work. And what a better place to talk about this subject tonight than actually living the dream or living the experience. Uh, um, Me and my wife, we've had certain disagreements, and I can tell you down through the years, it hasn't helped the relationship. And sometimes those certain things would come up again because when you cut someone, let's just say again, a physical knife, it's a physical wound. It hurts. It's a reminder when you look at that scar. Let's say that's how words are. That's what arguments do, especially when you put it in the spiritual sense. Just think about it this way. The Bible says where two or three are gathered in his name, there he is in the midst. Christ is in the midst of us. But when there's disagreements, when there's strife, when there's envy, who's in the midst of it? The enemy. He's in the very midst of it. And he's feeding off of both people because he loves to see division. He's always been against the things that God has established and ordained, even from the very beginning. So why not be against your marriage or your relationship? Or your friendship. He wants to tear a thing apart that God has established. And if you have a relationship that God has brought together, and the Bible says, "Let no man put asunder," who do you think he's talking to? He's putting that responsibility in the husband's and wife hand. He said, "Don't destroy it." He's given us the opportunity to not destroy it because he's letting us know, I brought you together. You didn't bring you together. So don't destroy it. Don't you single-handedly cut each other's limbs off. Listen, I hope that you guys have been helped tonight, and I hope that you guys understand that arguing does not help the relationship. It only makes it worse. Look, you can be right, but absolutely wrong at the top of your voice. Look, you could be right, but you can be absolutely wrong with saying things that you feel and you mean, but maybe don't need to say them at all. Take those things before God, because the Bible says if you cast your cares before him, he cares for you. He hears it. Complain about it. Say those things you mean to God so God can soften your heart in the midst of it and say, look, you need to check yourself at the door. Let's check ourselves at the door, because ultimately we are responsible for our own responses. We're responsible for how we react to the other person. The other person's not responsible. We are. So thank you for joining in tonight. Again, I'm your host, Marcus. Hope you guys like, subscribe, hate, whatever. Just leave a comment in the comment section. Love you guys. Peace.